Don't talk soft, that's the other guy. Who's the other guy?
I was just talking about other rappers.
I'm just saying, I'm on your side.
Oh, really?
That's all I'm gonna say.
Why do you have beef with Drake?
You said you were better than Kendrick, Drake, and Schoolboy Q.
Yes.
What made you say that? Why those three names in particular?
Because I feel that way. That's my truth. Like, I said those rappers in particular because I feel like they're the best.
Childish Gambino and Drake seem like the exact same person from parallel universes. Both of them are actors, both of them are rappers, and both of them are singers. However, while Drake gave up his acting career to pursue being a full-time rapper, it seems like Childish Gambino approaches his musical career as more of a passion project, while his involvement in television is his main focus. But that's definitely not to discredit his incredible catalog of albums and the artistic integrity that he approaches his music with. See, while both Drake and Childish Gambino were known to merge R&B and hip-hop, incorporating both sung melody and bars within their music, Drake has delivered the world a more mainstream and accessible sound, while Childish Gambino, on the other hand, often dives into broader social and cultural issues, incorporating a diverse range of styles and genres including funk, soul, R&B, and obviously hip-hop. But regardless of the differences within their sound, personality, and impact, it seems that for whatever reason the two have had personal differences for potentially their entire careers. So grab some popcorn and let's try to establish the real reason why Childish Gambino and Drake do not like each other.
And it started as a Drake diss, to be honest. It's like, I was like,
there's a lot of little nuggets in both of their disses that if it wasn't for these breakdowns, and salute to, guys like this, Rapaholics, because I think they directly get it.
Now, it's important to note that this is not Drake versus Kendrick, Drake versus Pusha T, or Drake versus Kanye. A lot of the shots that were ever sent back and forth between Childish Gambino and Drake were very, very subliminal, very lighthearted, and almost indistinguishable from just generic bars if you didn't pay close attention. Now, the first one to set off this entire softcore beef was actually Childish Gambino. In 2011, he was gearing up to drop his first album, Camp, and again, just important to keep in the back of your heads that both him and Drake were some of the first few rappers at the time to be actors and rappers who portrayed more of an emotional, non-confrontational image while incorporating sung melodies and bars within their music. So in April of 2011, Childish Gambino drops a track called Break. On that record, he rapped, "You can't go ham, you're a Jewish N-word." Now, this could have been a diss at Drake for several reasons. Firstly, Ham is the name of the first song that Kanye West and Jay-Z released to promote their album together called Watch the Throne. Before the album was released, Drake did an interview with Tim Westwood where Tim asked him when his collaboration album with Lil Wayne would be coming out. Drake basically said, yeah, we still gotta do that, but I hear there's these two other big rappers that are coming out with a project together as well. Then he sarcastically said, I wonder where they got that idea from. Basically implying that Kanye and Jay felt the pressure of the massive forces that Drake and Lil Wayne were at the time, as the two were frequently collaborating and dropping hit after hit, so they decided to team up and distract the public and really make you remember who the throne belonged to. Kanye even mentioned this at a concert with Drake, saying that Watch the Throne would have never happened if it wasn't for Drake putting so much pressure on Jay-Z and Kanye West. Drake would also rap later that year in 2011 on DJ Khaled's song I'm On One, saying, I just feel like the throne is for the taking, watch me take it. Some pretty aggressive bars considering Drake was a relatively newcomer within the game. So to go at Kanye and Jay-Z, who were already massive legends at the time, was kind of a bold move. Some might say, he tried to go ham on them. At least you might have said that back in 2011. I don't think anyone's used that word since then. Now, on the song Ham, Jay-Z also sent subliminal disses at Birdman, the owner of the record label that Drake is signed to, Cash Money. Back then, Birdman used to always say that he had more money than Jay-Z. So on the song Ham, Jay-Z rapped, I'm like, really, half a billy? Really? You got baby money. Keep it real with these guys, you guys ain't got my ladies' money. Baby here is a double entendre, as Birdman also goes by the nickname Baby, and Jay-Z is basically telling him here that he has baby money, that he's not even as rich as Jay-Z's wife, Beyonce, is. Now, I know we're getting a little bit off track here, and I'm going to do a full video on the beef between Jay-Z and Birdman and Lil Wayne, but Wayne basically responded to this diss on his album The Carter 4 on a song that also featured Drake, where he basically threatened to capture Beyonce the same way that Bowser captures Princess Peach in Mario. And this sparked a bit of a back and forth between Wayne and Jay-Z, and eventually even Drake and Jay-Z. But that Ham song tied Drake up in the middle of this entire beef due to his association with Cash Money, and due to the fact that he threw a little bit of shade at Jay-Z and Kanye when they announced their Watch the Throne album. So why the Childish Gambino bar, you can't go ham, you're a Jewish person, could be a shot at Drake is because Drake is a African-American Jewish person. He's also the only rapper in the game that was Jewish and also African-American. Now, this is a double entendre because Jewish people can't eat ham. It's not a kosher food for their religion. And the word ham was an acronym that basically meant harder than a mother effer. Basically meaning you're about to go hard, you're about to go crazy. At the time that this Gambino song was released, Kanye and Jay-Z also released their track Ham, which started a back and forth between them versus Drake and Lil Wayne. And Gambino here is saying that the Jewish person can't go ham. In my opinion, this is just him telling Drake, like, stop trying to make these guys your competition. Stop trying to go ham on them or go crazy. They're not your competition. You're not at their level yet. Now, Drake wouldn't respond to this, but Childish Gambino actually ended up dropping his first album, Camp, on the same day as Drake's album, Take Care. On Gambino's album, he had a track called Bonfire, and on that song, he rapped, I don't talk soft. That's that other guy. And in an interview, he was asked who he was talking about when he said that other guy. And Gambino basically said he was just talking about other dudes or other rappers. But he also said this bar was in reference to the fact that people kind of view him as a soft rapper. And he was basically saying he can adopt both softer, more comedic personas on certain songs while also coming more aggressively, no Diddy, on other records. So while he's saying that I don't talk soft, that's that other guy bar was directed at other rappers, he's also kind of saying it was directed at himself.
I don't talk soft, that's the other guy. Who's the other guy?
I was just talking about other dudes in general, other rappers. I feel like there's a lot of dudes who hear one song of mine and like, oh, it's soft. I'm like, no, that, like, listen to my other stuff.
And the interviewer also asked him how he felt to be dropping an album on the same day as Drake. And when she asked that, Gambino kind of laughed and said like everyone's trying to pin him and Drake against each other and that they have no beef because Drake is just too big.
Now, speaking of a soft rapper, your album drops the same day as Drake's Take Care. How do you feel about that?
I mean, like, it's good for hip-hop, honestly. I don't know why people always want to, like, spark beef between rappers. Like, there's a whole Tumblr dedicated to me versus Drake, which I just think is really funny. But, like, Drake is Drake. Like, people hardly know who I am.
I'm just saying, I'm on your side.
You're on
That's
my
all
side?
I'm gonna say.
Oh, really? Why do you have beef with Drake?
And the two rappers would only get bigger, and this strange back and forth would only get bigger and weirder as the years progressed. In late 2013, Gambino released his album Because of the Internet, which featured a song called 3005. In an interview in 2014 with Zane Lowe, Childish Gambino played him the album and commented on the song 3005 by saying, Hit Boy heard me sing the hook of that song. That hook was actually supposed to be on Drake's Trophy beat. I was like, I don't know if it feels right. And then Hit Boy gave it to Drake and Drake made it awesome. Everybody's a winner in that one. We made a different song. So he kept it pretty positive for Drake, but I do find it funny that in the song Trophies, which used the beat that was initially meant for Childish Gambino's love song 3005, Drake actually rapped, man, this is not a love song. So could be irony, could be a subliminal, who knows. Later on in that same year, we got some shots that definitely were not subliminal, as Childish Gambino did a show in Sydney, Australia in June of 2014. And during that concert, he did a freestyle where he rapped, these guys think he's Drake. Nah, I ain't Drake. I sing better, I do better, my stuff is wetter. Now, someone in the comments, please explain to me what he meant by my stuff is wetter. I'm not gonna try to decode that bar. The freestyle was also recorded on a potato, so it was kind of hard to decipher. Maybe he wasn't saying my stuff is wetter. I don't know, you guys check it out. But in that same freestyle, he also rapped, I'm the best rapper, definitely top 5. If these other rappers think they are, they're definitely not alive. I cut their head off, that's every rapper living. That's Kendrick, that's Drake, that's Schoolboy, that's everyone. I don't give an F, I'll effing kill you guys. Later on, when he was asked if all of these bars that he had for Drake meant that he disliked the guy, Gambino replied, I don't want people to think that I hate Drake. I don't hate Drake at all. I really like Drake. If not for no other reason, then he makes me better. He really does. I had to fight that all the time. I knew when I was doing Childish Gambino from the beginning, like, they're not gonna let me do this. They already have a rapper, singer, actor guy who's black. That's really what it was. If he was white, it would be different. They'd be like, oh, they're not the same. It's very specific. I don't dislike Drake. I think he's a really good writer and rapper. But right now, I definitely feel like I'm better than him. Only because I'm working harder than him right now. If he came in and was like, let's rap, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. But right now, maybe he's got something up his sleeve. And it makes sense where Gambino is coming from, right? I mean, if both artists were put in the same box, but Drake was on a much higher level commercially, the only logical thing for Gambino to do to prove himself is to outwork Drake and just be open and ready for any challenge that might come his way. Now, shout out to Jeremy Hecht, my fellow Canadian commentator, for pointing out that Drake actually responded to this diss on his own song 6 p.m. in New York in 2015 when he rapped, oh, you tried? It's so childish calling my name on the world stage. Just a little play on words on Gambino's actual rap name, and also saying that it's immature that Gambino was freestyling about being better than Drake during his concert. Now, those bars were stuck in between a diss for Tyga, where Drake is ironically calling him out for dating an underage Kylie Jenner at the time, so it went under the radar that this bar was likely aimed at Childish Gambino. Now, we didn't hear anything from the two for the next couple of years but both of them took meteoric rises within their career. Drake selling 1 million copies in the first week with his album Views, getting multiple #1 hits with One Dance, Hotline Bling. Childish Gambino also getting massive hits in albums like Redbone and Awaken My Love. And then we fast forward to 2018 when in January, the first month of the year, Childish Gambino has a son and names him Drake, stating that he named his son Drake because Drake, the rapper, is his son. I'm joking, he never said that. I just thought it was kind of interesting that he named his son Drake, especially because just years before he was talking about how him and Drake were both put in the same constraints and box early on in their careers. But in that same year that Childish Gambino had his son Drake, he also had his first #1 hit with the song This Is America. This song was absolutely massive. It won Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Music Video, and Best Rap Song Performance of the Year, all at the Grammy Awards. The song was also one of the most important pieces of cultural commentary within music that people had seen in years. It addressed all the issues within America such as systemic racism, gun violence, the immunity that America has as a culture to the violence and racism that occurs within the country, and the dangers that African Americans face on a daily basis through threats from police, gang activity, and white supremacists. These simple lyrics carried such complexity to them. Bars like "Get Your Money, Black Man" emphasize the struggle for economic empowerment in a biased racial system. And a line like "This is Celly, that's a tool" would be a double entendre, as a celly, aka a cell phone, is something that every single person casually carries around in their pocket. Due to the dangers within society, we also have to carry the tool, aka the gun, on us at all times as casually as one would carry a cell phone. This bar could also emphasize the fact that cell phones are tools and can be used to document the police brutality and racial injustices within society. We saw this very clearly in 2020 when multiple civilians were able to document the horrific injustice done to George Floyd when that cop put his knee on his neck. Yeah, great song, critically acclaimed, #1 in the country, won like 4 Grammys, but it has nothing to do with Drake so far. So just remember that the song and its music video played an important role on commenting on the current state of the culture. Now, at the same time of the success of this record, Childish Gambino was also producing the 2nd season of his hit television series Atlanta. And strangely enough, the 7th episode of this 2nd season premiered on April 12, 2018, and it was actually titled Champagne Papi. If you guys didn't know, the name of Drake's Instagram account is Champagne Papi. Now, this whole episode was centered around a massive party that Drake was supposedly throwing at his house. In the show, Childish Gambino is trying to redeem himself in the eyes of his ex-girlfriend, who is very thirsty to go to this New Year's party that's hosted by Drake, so she can get a picture of him for her Instagram, and stated that her Instagram right now only has pictures of Childish Gambino and their daughter. Now, the episode is meant to highlight the superficial side of Hollywood, how people are obsessed with social media, and how living that lifestyle of fame and partying is almost like a simulation. Gambino's ex-girlfriend in the show is looking all around the house for Drake the entire night and can't find him, but instead finds his grandfather, who's a Mexican. As the friends are walking home, one of the characters says that she feels like everyone is in a simulation, and Gambino's ex-girlfriend agrees and also says that Drake doesn't exist. Now, it's important to remember that this is a comedy show, and that this Drake dedicated episode was lighthearted, it was satirical, and I'll leave it up to you guys in the comments whether or not you think Donald Glover was taking shots at Drake with the scripting of this episode. And Drake actually reacted to this episode on his Champagne Papi Instagram, where he shared a picture of the episode and put a bunch of laughing emojis saying, "This is surreal, I'm way too high for this." So now 2018 is ending. Childish Gambino has his #1 song with This Is America and his TV series Atlanta, where in the episode Champagne Papi, he's highlighting the vanity and materialism that comes with the lifestyle that a guy like Drake lives. In September of 2018, Childish Gambino also drops his record Feels Like Summer, where in the music video, you see a cartoon version of him walking down a long road, bumping into a bunch of other cartoon rappers, and Drake is portrayed chasing a cartoon of Future down the street, and Future's on a bike, and Drake eventually just runs out of stamina as Gambino walks by him, and he just stands there exhausted. Maybe Gambino's saying that Drake can't keep up with guys like Future because he's not truly part of that culture, and as Kendrick would say, he runs to Atlanta to chase those hits. Who knows? I'll let you guys interpret that within the comments. Due to the massive success that these two rappers slash actors were having at the time, they had no choice but to bump into each other at events, which led to them taking very stiff pictures together. And it seemed like the two got along okay up until April of 2023, when Childish Gambino did an interview with GQ magazine, and he told them that his hit song This Is America was actually originally intended to be a diss song against Drake. He said, "To be completely honest, This Is America, like that line, that was all we had. just that line. It started as a Drake diss, to be honest, as like a funny way of doing it. But then I was like, this kind of sounds hard though. So I was like, let me play with it. Now, obviously Drake is Canadian, so the line, "This is America," could have been intended as a diss to Drake in a similar but more lighthearted way as when Kendrick told Drake he's not a colleague, but he's a colonizer. Gambino was conveying a similar message, basically telling Drake, like, hey, you're not a part of this culture, buddy. This is America. They not like us. Now, a side note, as I was editing this video, I saw an interesting post on Reddit basically saying that "This is America" was meant to emphasize how vapid consumerism runs America, and Drake is the personification of that. Now, I don't think Childish Gambino was thinking that deeply of Drake when he concocted this track, but it is interesting the direction that the song went in after it was initially intended to be a Drake record. Like, you were inspired by Drake, but then you were inspired to comment on this much larger social issue. Like, did your initial thought of Drake act like a trigger or catalyst to lead you in the direction of starting to comment on these broader issues? Mos Def put it perfectly when he said Drake makes quote-unquote shopping music, like music that you'd hear in the background while you're shopping at Target. There's no real depth, there's no culture or societal commentary behind Drake's music. It's just smooth, generic, formulaic, where it's designed to be easily consumable or digestible to the general public or the average individual. And yeah, his music is kind of like what McDonald's is to food. Like, it's not good for you, it doesn't improve your health, but it's easy, quick, convenient, and because of its ability to be comfortably consumed and pumped out in mass, it's at the root of the obesity problem within America. People love to overindulge. Anyways, it's not that deep. Gambino probably wasn't thinking about how Drake is the music equivalent to McDonald's when he was thinking about dissing him on "This is America," but it's just food for thought, no pun intended. And Drake didn't seem to like the fact that Gambino said this record was initially meant to be a diss about him, because when Drake went on tour in summer of 2023, he performed his classic hit Headlines, and the visuals when he was performing that song were a bunch of random, negative, kind of satirical headlines popping up on the screen. One of the headlines was the overrated and over-awarded record "This is America" was originally supposed to be a Drake diss. Also important to note that Gambino said he had the song idea for "This is America." It was done 3 years before he actually released it. 3 years before he released it means that he created the idea of the Drake diss back in 2015, which makes a lot of sense because a year prior to that, in 2014, was when Gambino was dissing Drake in freestyles during his concerts and saying that he's better than Drake and that he'd be happy to go toe-to-toe with Drake in a rap battle. Drake also threw some shots at Gambino on the 2023 track Meltdown with Travis Scott, where he rapped, "You talk to the cops on some therapist stuff, you act like you love this American stuff, but really the truth is you scared of the 6. Now, the 6 is what Drake refers to Toronto as because the area code is 416. And the "you love this American stuff" bar was obviously directed at Gambino because his track "This is America" was supposed to be a Drake diss. The bar before this was also "Heard your new joint, it's embarrassing." And many people thought that Drake was talking to Pusha T with that bar, but I don't think it was really aimed at him because the album that Pusha T put out before that was his first #1 album of all time. It was an incredible body of work. Like, there was nothing embarrassing about that Pusha T album. However, if we look at the last album Childish Gambino released before Drake rapped those bars on that Meltdown record, it was his album 3.15.20, which came out on March 22nd, 2020. And it was an unfinished album. It had no album cover. None of the songs had titles. And it was his least successful album commercially of all time. So when Drake said, "Heard your new joint, it's embarrassing," I don't think he's talking about Pusha T. I think he's talking about that Childish Gambino unfinished album. Now, that was the last subliminal that we heard from Drake because obviously, as you guys know, he got roped up just a couple months later in that massive beef with Kendrick Lamar. And at that same time, Childish Gambino was cooking up his next album, Bando Stone in the New World. Now, in promotion of that new album, he actually went on TikTok live in June of 2024 when he had some negative things to say about the whole back and forth between Drake and Kendrick. He said, "The problem is we're not having enough fun. So this rollout that's coming is mostly about fun. I'm trying to have fun. I feel like there's not enough people that are just here to have fun. When I was a kid, there were big things that would unite us. And I just feel bad for you guys. This generation does not get it. Y'all get like bad stuff. Everything that everybody can get in on is usually messed up. Even this year, the most fun we've had was from a fight. A song from a fight, from a rap beef, which I enjoyed every minute of. It was very fun, but still, kind of negative in a certain light, I guess. Now, just a month later, in July of 2024, Childish Gambino ends up releasing the Bando Stone in the New World album, and the first thing that fans heard is that on the song Talk My Stuff, Childish Gambino is using a flow that Drake often uses. There's another song on the album that uses a similar flow to Drake, and this song is called Yoshinoa. Now, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that word right, but the bars that he's spitting on this record are some of the most obvious Drake disses that we've ever heard from Childish Gambino up till this point. So let's dissect this record. Firstly, the title of the song is Yoshinoa. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but Yoshinoa is a fast food chain, and it's one of the largest fast food chains of Goyudan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right either, but Goyudan is a beef bowl. Now, it's just interesting to me that he's naming the track that he's dissing Drake on after a fast food chain. Remember, just 2 or 3 minutes ago in this video, we were talking about how Drake makes fast food music, and how that was one of the core issues Childish Gambino was touching on within This Is America after he decided to change the record and not make it a Drake diss. Also, it's not just any fast food chain, it's a fast food chain for beef bowls. And in this record, he is subliminally touching on his beef with Drake. Clever title, and Gambino starts the record off by rapping, "I put your boy in the seat, you got your biz in the streets." The boy is a common nickname that Drake refers to himself as, and this year has been a common theme of Drake's dirty laundry being aired out in public. So when Gambino says, "you got your biz in the streets," he could be talking about that Drake the Snake video that leaked earlier this year, or maybe all the Drake reference tracks that leaked earlier this year from all of his ghostwriters, or maybe he's talking about all the information that Kendrick exposed about Drake throughout their beef, such as allegedly Drake's fake daughter, such as Drake's alleged Ozempic prescription, all the potential PDF file allegations as well. Plus, on 616 in LA, Kendrick is accusing Drake of having rats within his camp that are revealing information to Kendrick. Plus, I mean, there's multiple different meanings, right? Like all of Drake's relationships with women have been aired out for the public to see. Everyone knows about all his beefs. Like Drake airs out his dirty laundry and wears his heart on his sleeve, and the world has seen a lot of his business. It's all, you know, quote unquote, in the streets, as Gambino says. He follows this up by saying, "Guys don't know where I'm at. I found your house on an app." So yeah, while Drake's life is very public, everyone knows what he's doing constantly. No one really knows what's going on in Gambino's life. He keeps it private, which in turn allows him to live a life of peace and tranquility, the opposite of the vanity and materialism that Gambino portrayed Drake's life to be filled with in his Champagne Poppy Atlanta episode. And when he says, "I found your house on an app," he's talking about the fact that on Kendrick Lamar's #1 hit single Not Like Us, which is also obviously a diss record against Drake, the album cover is a picture of Drake's house, and on that house there's a bunch of pins which actually indicate that there's predators that reside within that residence. It's pretty crazy that Kendrick did this. Like, if you're an offender, wherever you live, people can find your house online and it'll have like specific pins which are meant to indicate that an offender lives in that house and in that neighborhood. So that's why Kendrick put those little pins on Drake's house in the cover of his Not Like Us single. And Gambino is basically saying here, like, I see your house, I see that picture of your house with all those little pins, not only on all the streaming platforms when I'm listening to that record, but I also see it on the Predator Locator apps, as any offender is forced to have their residence made public online. Then he rapped, "People around you ain't slat, they plotting hard when you slack, they got a gun in your back, this who you trust when you're sleeping at night." Now, slat is an expression commonly used by Young Thug and his collective YSL. People within that collective are also referred to as slimes. And like Kendrick said on Not Like Us, Young Thug made Drake feel like he's a slime in his head, meaning that Drake didn't come from that upbringing. He's not truly a part of that culture, even though he tries so desperately to attach himself to it. Gambino is basically echoing those sentiments by saying people around you ain't slat. They're not part of our culture, and they're also not keeping it solid. They're the first ones that are going to stab you in the back, reveal information about you to your enemies, and turn on you. They have a gun in your back. Gambino also raps, "Mess with my kids, you mess with your life. You messing with these HOES, I'm messing with my wife." Basically emphasizing the fact that, you know, Gambino and Drake, they're very similar in age, but they're at very different stages of life. Again, Drake is consumed by the materialism and vain lifestyle that comes with being a celebrity within Hollywood. Meanwhile, Gambino is posted up in a private location with his family, his wife, his kids, focusing on growing something of actual value, while Drake is messing around with lower value women. Also, the line, "Mess with my kids, you mess with your life," is basically kind of like when Kendrick said, "Don't tell a lie about me and I won't tell truth about you," because Drake has a very bad habit in beefs of trying to bring women or family members involved. And both Gambino and Kendrick are warning him, if you bring it into family, if you start speaking on my family, you start speaking on my kids, that's when you're messing with your own life, because I'm lyrically gonna go all the way off on you. He also rapped, "Been a minute since he had to fit it on the notepad," which could be in reference to the fact that Drake consistently uses ghostwriters to complete his records for him, so it's been a while since he had to actually write something down himself. Then he raps, in my opinion, the best bar in this entire record, where he says, "These guys' jokes are so dad, but they haven't seen their son in a month." Obviously, again, like Kendrick, he's alluding to the fact that Drake is not the best parent and isn't present enough in his child's life the same way Gambino's present in his kids' lives. But the dad joke bar is too good because Drake loves these corny dad jokes. Like, even when he put that thing up at his concert that said "This Is America" was an overrated and over-awarded track, that whole stunt was like a corny dad joke. Him putting Tupac AI vocals on that Kendrick diss song was like the rapper equivalent of a dad joke. Him rocking a Compton Community College sweater on his Instagram story, or making a bunch of these captions that were all passive-aggressive and subliminal, they're all like corny dad jokes. So Gambino here is criticizing Drake for moving like a cornball, and in a lot of the previous bars we touched on, he's emphasizing the fact that Drake, might be 37, but he's not living like a 37-year-old. He's sleeping with HOES, he's acting immature, he's making corny dad jokes, he's surrounding himself with guys that aren't actually solid to him, and he goes on to emphasize this when he raps, "Now his career's in a blunt, these rappers cosplay the industry Comic-Con," emphasizing even further that Drake is an outsider to the culture and that he's almost colonizing or just trying to fit in. Then he raps, "White boy throwing dirt on my name for the think piece," which is something Drake has been called pretty frequently throughout the entire year. Rick Ross put out a Drake diss track where he called him white boy throughout the entire thing. Gambino proceeds to emphasize Drake's lack of maturity considering his age by rapping the bars, "These guys almost 50 and they're dressing like a hype beast." Another bar that mirrors a Kendrick Lamar diss, as Kendrick Lamar rapped on Euphoria saying that Lil Yachty can't give Drake any swag. But meanwhile, Drake has been following around guys like Yachty or Yeeth or Sexy Red or Kai Cenat to try and kind of steal their aura or connect with the youth. Gambino kind of references the dad jokes again by saying, "Made a song but spent more time writing the caption. I'm an actor, you can put that on set, I'm about that action." The "spent more time writing the caption" bar was a very obvious Drake diss, and again another reference to when he was saying that Drake makes dad jokes, because again throughout this entire beef, it's arguable that Drake spent more time trying to craft clever one-liners within his captions that kind of subliminally referenced the entire beef more than he spent on the actual diss tracks themselves. And that whole trolling persona that Drake adopts within those dad joke, corny type captions, all of those things show Drake's lack of maturity, but also show that he's an actor. That it's not really about the quality and substance within the music for him, it's about the packaging, how it actually looks. He made a song, but he spent more time writing the caption, meaning he prepared the product, but he spent more time, thought, and devotion into crafting the perfect caption, the perfect introduction to the product. And Gambino here is also saying he's an actor as well, but you can put that on set, he's about that action. Obviously, an actor is on set, and when they're about to shoot a scene, they yell action. And that's a double entendre for Gambino saying that he's basically ready for that action with Drake. He's ready for this beef. And we'll leave it at that, but it's pretty obvious by this song that Gambino is, again, calling Drake out for his lack of maturity, calling Drake out for not being a genuine part of this culture, and basically saying that he's ready for war. Now, I don't see how he's going to do that, as he claimed that this was going to be the last album that he ever released. But if the story does end here, there are some important lessons that we can take away from this entire thing. Gambino felt like he was put in a box as the underdog against Drake, who was the first guy to come on the scene and be a rapper slash singer slash actor who was also African American. Gambino's flight or flight reaction to this predicament was to outwork Drake and try to become the better version of what he is today and what Drake is in general. As a result, instead of letting himself stay in that box and only pursuing an acting career or only pursuing a singing career, Gambino elevated his sound, his persona, his subject matter with each project that he released, constantly evolving, bringing some of the most progressive, forward-thinking social commentary that we've seen within recent history in pop culture or music in general, and also achieving immense financial success in both his television and musical ventures. And as for Drake, well, I'm sure he'll have a subliminal for Gambino on his next project. But yeah, what Gambino was saying on this recent record was what he was saying back in 2018 on his Atlanta episode, what he was saying back in 2014 with his freestyle aimed at Drake, in that essentially he works harder, he's not comfortable in his current position, he's constantly evolving, and more importantly, he's maturing. He's not letting the ease of overindulgence and materialism and vanity consume him due to his success and megastardom. So if you didn't want to watch all 28 28 minutes to this entire video and you just skip to the end to kind of see the little summary. Basically, Gambino felt like he was put in the same box as Drake, so he had to outwork him. And now he's telling Drake that he got too comfortable. He let the fame consume him, and for that, he didn't evolve, he didn't mature. He's playing a role, he's still an actor, he's not really part of this culture, he has no true identity. And apparently Gambino is ready for that action. So again, we'll have to wait and see. Did I miss anything in this video? Let me know. Who do you think would actually win if these two rappers did go toe-to-toe? Who do you think has had the better, more legendary careers? And would you want to see the roles reversed, where Gambino was the more dominant artist and Drake was the more dominant actor? I think that could be interesting. Anyways, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys want to see next, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.